Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, wherever you're listening to us from. This is 99.3 Nigeria Info. And yes, it's time for Digital Life. Of course, I know a lot of you have missed me on this show. I know, but with the situation of the country and with conversation forward, looking at the petrol scarcity, looking at all of the things that are happening, I must come to the radio. We must have that conversation. It's very important that we have the conversation. And I'm back here again. I'm sorry for all of you who've reached out asking me when are we gonna get Digital Life back on the radio. We're back. We're back on the radio right now. We're back on the radio right now, ladies and gentlemen. And we have a wonderful conversation today. Like I said earlier, our conversation is looking at the reality of the times and looking at the realities of the future because one thing that we learned in 2020 was about remote work. I think it jolted a lot of people to the reality of where we are currently as globally, and that we might necessarily need to make changes. We might necessarily need to change our work ethics, the way we work, the way businesses and companies operate, and that is exactly the conversation today. There's been a reality check in Nigeria in the last couple of days. Many of you woke up on Tuesday now or Wednesday, and you heard the information about the hike in petrol prices. You've been going out there and you've been purchasing fuel at 8.97 at some places, 8.55 at some places, and it's been really really tough. Trust me, it's been really really tough. I have people all around, myself inclusive, and it's been really really tough. You don't want to even check the prices of e-hailing, uh, e-hailing prices to work right now, or the public transport even has increased their fares as well, because truthfully, you're looking at your salary. Today is seventh. Today is eighth. Today is the eighth, and you're looking at your salary. If I open the phone lines now and I say, please tell me how much you've been able to save this month, or you saved from last month's pay. I believe many of you do not even have a substantial amount to save. Your savings is what is keeping you alive, or your savings is what is saving you. You've even touched the ones that you've been saving like all the while back because you just had to augment because there's so many bills to pay, there's so much things to do. And that is literally conversation for today, ladies and gentlemen. We have with us today an HRO expert who is going to be joining us. We will be joining this conversation today with me, and we'll be looking at other opinions. How much can we, what more can we do? Because the reality of things is so much, like, it's so much. And we just have to have that conversation. What more can we do? Lagos, I'm still here with you on Digital Life. I'll be back shortly. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're back, and yes, you're still listening to 99.3 Nigerian Info, and this is Digital Life. Like I said earlier, we're having a conversation about remote work and adopting remote work. Now, the conversation, I think we should just start the conversation. What do you think, Joey? I think we should just get into the conversation so that we take it from there, because there's so many there's so many there's so many questions already that I'm beginning to ask myself. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm being joined right now by Joey Benson. Joey Benson, and she is the CEO of Temploy. It's an HR consulting firm, I believe. Is that correct, Joey? Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I work in a HR consulting firm. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very clearly. And she's joining us remotely. Like we said yesterday, it's only appropriate that we have this conversation, not live in the studio, but remotely, because we're talking about remote work right now. I think it's also some of the things that we've adopted over time, even here in the broadcasting sector, whereby we have to conduct interviews, remotely as against having the guest in the studio. But then, yes, that's the conversation for today, people. So, first question I'll ask Joey is, with the reality of things, do you think Nigerian businesses are really does it seem like they would open up their minds to accept or adopt remote work, full-time remote work?
I can't hear you. The line is breaking. Can you confirm if you can hear me?
I can hear you very clearly.
Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay, all right.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Please go ahead. I didn't hear the question. I didn't get the question.
Okay, I said with the current.
I can hear you.
I said with the current state of things, with the current state of things, do you think Nigerian businesses would be looking out to adopt fully remote, fully offsite roles, or fully offsite? Let their employees work fully remotely. Please tell me you heard me.
I mean, I think there are very, very few business. I heard you. I said, I think there are very few businesses that can go fully remote. Some businesses can go remote, but I think we should be thinking about starting with hybrid. We're coming a long way from a country where we're used to people going to work on site, and every employer prefers people to come to the office. But if you show some sense of responsibility, then we can begin to talk about moving to hybrid, whereby you're going to work, say, 2 to 3 days a week and all that. But in terms of fully remote, unless you are, I'm not even sure any company goes fully remote. Even Google and co, there are companies, there are sometimes they just need you to be in the office.
So what's the difference?
So let's start with hybrid.
so let me understand the rationale behind why people can't.
Okay, so let me explain. Okay, so let me explain to you. Remote means you are not going to the office. The predefined office for you. You're not going there at all. So you're working fully offsite. That's what it is. Offsite, online, whatever it is we want to call it, that's it. Hybrid is you go to the office sometimes and you work remotely at other times. I think the transition from on-site to remote, to fully remote, is a very long shot. So how about we do on-site to hybrid, and then we see how people are performing on the hybrid level before you can talk about fully remote. I must remind you, of course, there are plenty of jobs that cannot be done remotely. A driver cannot work remotely. A cleaner cannot work remotely. A teller cannot work remotely. Yes, you can go to an ATM and all that, but ATMs have limits of the amount of cash that they can give you. So when we consider those conversations, there are some people that, as much as you love working remotely, the kind of job you do will determine whether you can actually work even hybrid or not.
Now, with the situation of things, can you specify the sectors, that you think people cannot? Now, I'm just asking. Can you specify the sectors that you think people cannot possibly work remotely? Like you've rightly mentioned, the cleaner, you've mentioned drivers, but what about bankers? What about other sectors? Aside tech.
I think in banks, the people in non-customer facing roles can work remotely. So for instance, people in, say, credit risk, people in marketing, people in, fraud, departments, all those departments can work remotely. But fully remotely, I'm not sure, because again, you need to understand that there are systems that banks have put in place. to ensure that people can work well. And those systems are in the office. And there's the sensitivity of some of the technology prevents people from actually accessing them anywhere apart from the office. Because people, I mean, it's in the office that they're able to put in all their, firewalls and everything to ensure that it's less difficult to hack. If you're working in, say, a very sensitive role in a bank, and then you're working from home, and one of your children just saunters near your system and presses something they're not supposed to press, I mean, that can be a disaster for everybody. Manufacturing cannot work remotely. How are they going to produce your goods? So there are people that really cannot work remotely, no matter the desire.
For them to work remotely, it just can't work.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say we're moving to hybrid right now. What are the downturns to moving hybrid? Because some companies would not accept even this shift from 5 working days to hybrid, to say, let's say, work 3 days and have 2 more days off, or work 2 days and have 3 more days off. What are the considerations some of these companies are?
The conversation should start with.
Can you hear me?
I think the conversation, you just said something now, 3 days off. Can you hear me? I can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, so you just mentioned something employers do not like to hear. You said 3 days off. See, when you use the word off, employers think that you are giving people the opportunity not to work, right? So when you say off, that's the thing, because sometimes you tell people, oh, we're working, at home tomorrow. What everybody hears is just, I am at home, right?
Oh.
And when you're at home, it's like you're on your terms. So people that are supposed to get to the office at 8 o'clock and they'll be rolling out of bed at 8, right? Because it's like, oh, after all, I'm not going to the office. And you see, we have to have conversations about responsibility, because that's the only way. If you have a sense of responsibility and you show it even when you're in the office, that's when an employer can begin to consider that, oh, okay, maybe if I leave this person can work well when I'm not there. We have a lot of employers, managers that they micromanage people. They don't only want to give you work. They want to come over your shoulder and look at your system and see that you're actually working. It's those kind of people that you now want to say 2 days off. All they just hear in that thing is off, and they just assume that people are just going to take the day off. And then you also have to think about it from the employee side. A lot of people, there are people that, they will say, oh, let's work remotely on Friday also. And then you call them and they say, sorry, I'm in the market. Now, tell me, if I gave you the opportunity to work remotely, I did not say you should work from home. Anywhere you like, you can work. You can work from your auntie's house, from your cousin's house and everything. But then you are now in the market. You say, oh, there are children around me and all of that. By the time those excuses keep coming up regularly, you are showing people that you don't have, first of all, a sense of responsibility. You don't have, good time management skills and all that. And that just further goes to strengthen the employer's argument that working from home is a no-no. Though I don't agree with it. I believe that people can work from home if they recognize the fact that it is still work. I'm just doing it from a different location.
So how do they have this sense of responsibility? Because like you said, 8 a.m., usually people who, let me make an example. People who live on the mainland and come to the island, basically they have to wake up as early as about 4 a.m., 5 a.m. to get a vehicle to come down here if they're not driving personally. Even if they are driving, they still have to leave at about 5 a.m. so that they don't get stuck in traffic. But now you allow that person to work from home for some days, and then the person is rolling out of bed at 8 a.m. How do we imbibe this sense of responsibility in the employees that would also help their case when they present it to their employers?
Okay, so I think the first thing is, from the point of view of the employer, they need to develop policies on remote working. So I wrote about this actually on LinkedIn, like I was telling you yesterday. I wrote about, there was an article I had, virtual is the new reality and all of that. And this was even in the time of COVID. So I started work in a consulting firm, and several years ago, and that was a time when, virtual was not even a thing. And because of where we worked, it was like one of the top 4 audit firms in the world. So we worked from anywhere. You would work from the office, you would work from the car, you would work from the airport, you would work in your hotel room, anywhere really. So we got that training already. So such that when 2020 came and a lot of people were saying, oh, I can't work remotely, it was already a part of me. It was already a part of a lot of people that had worked in, say, consulting or worked with international organizations where they'll just say, oh, okay, maybe we're not coming to the office today, let's work remotely. Now, that's not the case with a lot of people. And working from home, there's some form of training that needs to be involved. So first of all, let's start with the entry-level people. I feel that there's still a sense of responsibility that comes with actually going to work, right? So you are going to work, I mean, you are fresh out of school, you don't know a lot of things. And so you need to be around people that know a lot more than you do, who can guide you, who can handhold you, coach you, and mentor you, and all of that. So I feel like, I mean, those kind of people need to actually get an experience of what the work environment is like, so that they can then understand what working feels like. Because all your life you've gone to school, and in schools, people are very strict lecturers, so the lecturer will take attendance and everything. So you must come to school. Now you get into a position whereby you've gotten into the working world and you don't know the rules and the regulations that come with actually working. So you need to be at the office to learn to develop some of these things. Now, after that, when people begin to see that you have a sense of responsibility, that you understand what you're supposed to do, that you understand the timing, the deadlines, and everything required of certain deliverables, you can then begin to have a conversation about working remotely. And you see, when you want to try working remotely, you try people first. So you say, for example, let's try working remotely once a day. It is on the basis of what you deliver in that one day that would help an employer decide whether they want to give you, say, an additional day working from home. Say, okay, let's do 2 days in the office, 3 days a week. But if every time they have given you an opportunity to work remotely, you come back with excuses. Oh, my internet is not good. Oh, we did not have lights. I did not have, my gen was not working. I didn't have where to buy fuel and all of that. And I'm not saying that these excuses are not real. They are not valid sometimes. But where they become a pattern, the employer is just going to tell you, please come back to the office. I've provided lights for you in the office. I've provided a computer. I've provided internet. So since you cannot provide these things, or you do not have these things at home, or you always give excuses about these things, then just come back to the office. Let's continue working.
Okay, so like you rightly mentioned, all of those excuses, internet, lights, generator not working, is the reality of the average Nigerian. And if we're going to try to go hybrid, it means that these things have to be sorted out. Internet is a big, very big thing. What's it called now? Light power is one of the very strong things that people do not even get to enjoy. Some people's areas have not even seen light in the last 3 months, I dare say. So what are ways in which employees who are thinking of working remotely and trying to convince their employers to grant them those days to work hybrid, what are the things that they can use to surmount all of those challenges?
Well, I think, first of all, as an employee, like I said earlier, you need to decide whether your work can be done remotely. The second thing is try and do an assessment of yourself, of your environment, and identify what are the existing or potential implications of working remotely on you. For example, do you live in a place where it's a face me, I face you with 5 people in the same room and everything? Is that something that you can do? Do you live in a place that is, say, noisy, for instance? Do you live in a place where there are so many distractions? I remember when I was saying that when I wrote that article, I said, as far as my mom is concerned, if you're at home, you're not working. Right? So I am at home and there are so many, come and do this, come and do that, come and do that. And some people, you see, there's a generation that does not understand working from home.
Exactly.
And then my mom would be telling me, you better go and look for work, because seeing me sitting on a computer at home, she's probably wondering that what is this person doing? Now, you not tell your mother who is at home with you. She says, go and help me get a glass of water. Go and help me cook this or something like that. You now say, I'm working. So think about your circumstances. Do your circumstances allow you to actually work from home. If they don't, please just go to the office, save yourself the stress. The second thing you need to do is consider, do I have the resources? Can I get access to lights? Because this thing I'm talking about working from home, it's not always very easy. There were times when, there will be no light in my house. Maybe the transformer has blown or something like that. I will get up, whether it's go to somebody's house, sometimes I even used to go to my church. I will go to different people's, who is at home, please, I need to work and everything. It is the sense of responsibility that caused me to do that. Another person can say, I've not had lights in my house and therefore I'm not working. Now, if that sense of responsibility comes through in what it is you are doing, so even if it's that, you tell your boss, maybe a transformer blew yesterday or something. I mean, these are the realities of Nigeria. Or one truck passed my area and the cable, the internet cable that brings, data to my area and all that just went up. Well, please, just give me 30 minutes or give me 1 hour. Let me go somewhere else and be able to work. Yes, there's a 1 hour loss, but the truth of the matter is that you have still been able to show your responsibility. Yeah, we have a call?
Yes, we have to go on a very short break, but we'll be back here very briefly. We just have to go on a very short break. Lagos, we're still here on Digital Life. We're still here on 99.3 Nigeria Info. We'll be back shortly.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the party you've been waiting for. The Life's a Beach Party. A beach party like you've never experienced, featuring amazing music performances by King Maddie.
Hey guys, what's poppin'? My name is King Maddie.
Travel around the world, I know guys.
Magix.
Hey guys, it's your boy Magix.
Tapes. Also featuring top Nigerian creators, including Amma, Miss Dams, Pella. Come experience Beach Olympics, fashion competitions, and water sports. Your host is Tacha.
Your girl Tacha is right here.
Life's a Beach Party will take place September 21, 2024. Time is 5 p.m. Voda Beach Club, Legoshi, Lekki, Lagos. Register for free at www.teasersparty.com. Life's a Beach, proudly brought to you by Teaser Sparkling Drink. 18 plus, drink responsibly. Life's a bitch. Live it up.
Everyone says I'm beautiful and bold. They say I'm fashionable. And to crown it up, very confident. And my secret is...
People say I'm good looking, funny, hardworking, and to crown it up, very confident. And my secret is...
So whether in the office or at home,
in the streets or on the dance floor,
anytime, any day, I never lose my confidence. And the secret to my confidence is Wazobia perfume.
Absolutely. Wazobia perfume gives the authenticity and long-lasting fragrance all day. That's my secret confidence.
Wazobia perfume is available in body spray.
Also available in supermarkets and markets near you.
You can also get it on Jumia.
Wazobia perfume, the correct scent.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back.
We are back.
We're back on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Yes, Lagos, we are back here on Digital Life.
Here on Info, they call us on time.
Because we bring it right on time.
Anybody that wants to remove something to build and repair our environment.
You don't have to be an ordinary man or a governor to be whipped into line.
There is no justification for madness. It is madness for a reason.
Service all here.
Be the real that recognizes real.
It's 99.3 Nigeria Info, your number one station for talk.
Yes, Lagos, we're back here on Digital Life on 99.3 Nigeria Info. And we have June joining us this morning talking about remote work and HR. She's an HR expert and she's talking about remote work today, hybrid work, like she's advocating companies to adopt right now. But then we were talking about some of the challenges that people face, working hybrid, working remotely in Nigeria, which is issues of internet, power supply, and then home disturbance, like your mom, sisters, neighbors, checking your environment. But then, during one of the things that people have used to surmount some of these challenges has actually been hubs around their areas. What do you think about this? Can you hear
Can you
me?
hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I can hear you. Okay. Yes, I think hubs are actually a fantastic idea. And I feel like, whoever brought up that idea is very good. Now, the thing is that when you go to hubs, because hubs have been prepared as, should I say, pseudo work areas, really, and like they've been prepared to like represent or recreate an office environment. So that way you are able to go somewhere that hopefully, there are like-minded people there, people that also came for the same purpose, which is to work. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that, you guys are not working for the same organization or something, but the fact that everybody in a working hub has work in mind, then you can go to such places and actually work. Because the good thing about those places is that they solve your problems of internet, they solve your problems of, power supply, they solve your problem of space. So it's really just go there with your laptop and, you know that at least you have a good space for the day to work.
But when we just suppose the cost of daily going to a hub, because you have to pay daily. I think some people have a plan, like a 6-month, 3-month, 1-year plan. But when we just suppose that's with what you're meant to spend for transportation, do you think it's something sustainable?
Well, something has to give. So you have to decide. Would you rather go to your office or go to a hall? Whatever works for you. Some people work some people go to their friends' houses and it is perfect. Some people go to hubs and it is perfect. Whichever works for you, but something has to give. If you feel, for instance, I don't want to go to the office, but the cost of a hobby daily is expensive, you can look at, like, some of them have like weekly arrangements or monthly arrangements, which further drive down the costs. But whatever way, for you to be you cannot be advocating for working remotely and then you still be choosy about, the costs and all that. And I must say as well, some employers, what they decide to do is they also fund these hubs. They fund your going to the hub as well. But you see, you have to, know that there's a distinction. As an employer, I will not maintain an office where I'm, running costs of operations and everything and still pay for you to go to a hub. It's like, rather than you going to a hub, why don't you just come to the office?
Why are you going to a hub? Why don't you just come to the office? And I'm thinking like an employer will tell you, well, if you want to do it that way, that's on you, because I don't see any reason why I'm going to pay and I'm still paying you salaries.
Yeah, but some employers, since COVID, a lot of things changed. So what some employers did was actually to encourage their people to work from home. What they did was they identified what are these excuses that employees typically give: light, internet, and all of that. Some people, I know of a company who they actually gave their people bulk sums of money and said, if you do not have a gen, go and buy a gen. What internet are you using at home? Is it good enough? They subscribed, across the organization to a particular internet, of course, having found out, how that will work for different areas, and gave each person like a dongle or something like that. So when you provide the two major things that people give excuses about, which is light and internet, I'm not going to come to your house to come and tell your mom not to call you when you're working. That one is the one you have to do yourself. I'm not going to come to your house and tell your kids not to disturb you during working hours. That is what you need to do.
But when we look at the downside of actually working remotely, you've already mentioned the kids, the disturbance, and then what's it called now? Like parents, if you live with your parents, is also the thing there. Couples, how do they even, how do they balance that? Because one person knows that you are always at home. How do you balance that helping out in the house? I think I have a friend. Is he a friend now or a mutual that actually works remotely? And I know that there's a time he goes out to get his kid. But then I'm thinking, okay, what if there's an emergency at work? How do they contact you? How do you handle that? How do you balance all of that equation? How do you make sure that you're able to deliver at work at the time they need you and you're still able to function on your role as a parent? Are you there with us? Join, can you hear me? Lagos. This is actually some of the challenges to working remotely because internet connection in Nigeria is actually one of the major things that would always be an issue. Aside internet connection, there's also storage space. And then some persons' laptops and all the likes are not even equipped, to handle all of that whole, busyness, because you literally have to use your laptop. Some people do not. There's no provision for a laptop. They usually just work with their desktop. So how do we even get employers, at this very point in time? Employers are complaining they're running so much losses. Businesses are running losses and the likes. If we're looking at the employers right now, what would you say to the employers?
I think the employers have to do a number of things. The first thing is to review your business activities. I mean, like we said, drivers, security guards, office assistants cannot work remotely. Right? But these are only some of the obvious. So you need to review your business activities to say, what are the things, both core and support of my business? What are the activities that can actually be delivered remotely, either partially or fully remotely? The next thing is to examine what are the processes that are involved in delivering these activities. What do you need to change? What do you need? If, for example, when I say processes now, maybe something is supposed to go physically, maybe a hard copy from Emmanuel to Juyin in the office for Juyin to sign. If you're working remotely, how do you change that? Do you say, for instance, an email approval is sufficient? Like Emmanuel just sends that same thing to Juyin and Juyin says approved, and that will suffice as a signature. You need to think through what are the people, the technology, the other support that is required to go virtual. So, for example, people, you need to assess the staff that currently deliver the activities. What skills do they have? What skills do they need to work remotely? Who do you need to upskill or reassign to be sure that they are able to maximize their productivity? And what are the peculiarities of their situations, like I mentioned earlier? In terms of technology, what are the software, the hardware, whatever systems that are required to enable staff work and collaborate effectively? If, for instance, you're an office that has a lot of meetings, are you subscribing to Zoom? Are you subscribing to Google Meet and all the different meeting software that will enable people to continue to have the meetings when they need to have? Your responsibility as an employer to provide work tools. It does not end when people stop coming to work. You still have to provide them with some support to enable them, to work well remotely. Another thing is you need to identify the potential risks of delivering these activities remotely. So what are the risks, like I was mentioning, the things that, some systems, the fact that people are accessing your system from outside, is it prone to hacking? What are the things that you need to do to secure your systems properly to ensure that you minimize these potential difficulties? Do you really want staff using their personal laptops for work? Some people, you just need to provide them with an official laptop that, prevents them from doing some shoddy things and all of that. And then how do you ensure that people work seamlessly, to minimize any potential delays or losses? Let's say a customer is waiting on one side and something has to go from Emmanuel to Juyin to Bisola and all that. How do you ensure that, these things are put in place to ensure that, there are no issues? Then again, engage your staff to understand the peculiarities of their situation. If somebody tells you, I cannot work from home, just take it from them. There are some people that enjoy the joy of I'm leaving the house and going to the office. For them, it's a very big deal. There are some people that know. Let's say, for instance, I was even talking about your mother. Let's say your mother-in-law lives with you. With your mother, you can even say, Mommy, I'm busy, something.
Oh, Lagos, we've lost Johnny again. Internet connection, it's actually very... okay, we have a back.
I'm back, yeah. So you don't want any working remotely that will cause marital wahala, right? And, your in-laws and your house and everything. So some people, even going to work is like an escape. You don't know the situations of their house. It's like, let me just even know that I'm away from this house for like 9 to 10 hours. And then I come back and deal with whatever it is, whether it's my landlord or anything like that. Some people are squatters. So they do not have the leeway to be in charge of a room or whatever. And then, some people are homeschooling their children. So how do they, combine teacher, children? So you need to find out each person's situation before you know whether, okay, this person can work from home, or maybe you say, okay, even if you don't want to come to the office, maybe go to a hub or something. But if you want performance, you need to be clear about it, which brings me to my next point. You need to set clear parameters for performance. What are the things? Maybe coming to work was a performance goal. For a lot of people, it was good enough. And when you come to work and you look busy, then somebody can say, oh, you're working. Now that you are not seeing the person, what are the timelines? What are the deliverables that you expect, that you say, okay, this person has performed? And of course, establish very clear communication lines, because you need to be able to communicate within the team, across the team and all that. Do you really need a meeting? So another thing I found is that employers, when you're working remotely, they like to have meetings. It's as if they're just like, let's meet, let's do meetings so that I can be sure that people are working. But if you spend a lot of the time calling for meetings and people are joining meetings, you need to realize that you're not actually giving them the time to work. And then the last one I would say is define the work hours. So what are the hours, for example, that you say, okay, even if every other thing I've put in place, at these certain times, I need to be sure that you are working. So let's say 8 to 11. Okay, you can take a break from 11 to 11:30 to do whatever it is you want to do. Then we come back at 11:30, we do another. So like blocks of time, because the reality is that when people are at home, there are still going to be some distractions. So you want to be realistic and say, okay, I'm expecting you to work from this time to this time. This time, if I'm not going to call you, or I'm not going to reach out to you or anything, whatever it is, it's not so much whatever it is you want to do, but it's just that these blocks of time, let's devote them to work.
Thank you so much, Joey. I think we'll wrap it here, but thank you so much. You've actually given us, quite a lot of take home that we have to sit down, digest. And I believe a lot of employees and employers listening right now have gleaned a lot from what you've said. But Lagos, I'll also give you the opportunity to call in right now. If you have a question, if you have a comment, this is the time for you to call in and share your questions or your comments with us. 0201 277 0993, mail only line 0201 465 7190, female only. And you can send us a WhatsApp message 080 959 75805, 080 959 75805. But before we get into that, Joey, there's this very last one you mentioned, okay. We might just have to leave it at that. But thank you so much, Joey Benson. I don't know why I keep saying blessing. Joey Benson, for joining us and giving us all of those insights. We really appreciate your comments today. Lagos, the phone lines are still open: 0201 277 0993, 0201 465 7190, 080 959 75805. I have a comment here on WhatsApp, and this is Alice from Lagos, and she's saying quite funny, but she's saying that no matter the situation, there is no way my company would allow us work hybrid. Well, Alice, we don't know what type of work you do. You're not sharing the kind of work you do. Like Joey had said earlier, you have to look at your role and you have to be clear if it's something that can work remotely, or you can work hybrid if you can work from outside the office, because there are some roles that you cannot do from outside of the office. Like she rightly mentioned, you can't have a cleaner working remotely. You can have a driver working remotely. There are some roles that you cannot have people working remotely for. There are technicians, there are technical heads that do not need to work remotely, because all of the systems they have to monitor are right there at the office. There are people who handle the technical part, who monitor the networks. These people have to be at the office. The engineers, they have to be at the office to make sure that these things are working very greatly, that it's working well. But Lagos, we have to go. Today is not one of those days that we have to spend so much time. But this is Chisco. Before we go, this is Chisco from Ijegun, and he's saying Good morning, Emmanuel, and guests at the other end. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? As you just demonstrated on the spot, is one of the challenges experienced during doing remote jobs in Nigeria. Meanwhile, not all jobs, especially artisans, generally cannot work remotely. Yes, you're very correct, Chisco. Not all jobs can be done remotely. And yes, I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Is one of the challenges. And that's why we had to hold this interview remotely so that we can test it and we can we can bring the reality to the fore. Okay, because sometimes when we talk about these things and it's one of the things that we enjoy as presenters as well. When we have the guests in the studio, we can converse, we can have like off the mic conversation that enriches the conversation that we're going to have or that we're having, and we can explore so many things. We meet ourselves, so there's this familiarity, there's this conversation that we have, and the chemistry is just built right for the conversation. And it's one of the challenges that we employ, because when you're doing remotely, it's like a give and take thing, and then we cannot always trust the internet and tech. We cannot always trust the internet and tech. They would always want to leave you stranded. It's like their core duty sometimes. So just like you said, it's one of the challenges. Many times I've sent an email, I tell my people, I've sent you an email. Please confirm you receipt of the email. And they tell you, I've not gotten the email yet. And it just leaves you stranded, and it delays the whole job. It just delays like the whole process, and things that are meant to, you would literally leave your office, go to the next office by your side, and have a signature on something. You would have to do it remotely, and people are telling you, I can't see the email, I can't approve it if I can't see it, and then you have to start looking for other means by which you would send the email, and then you're opening yourself up to phishing. Because if you're sending an email, for instance, because we've had conversations here on the show speaking about cybersecurity, and people sometimes, these hackers, especially the black hat hackers, what they do is that sometimes they can be in your system, they can be in your network, and they will be subtle, they'll be docile, they won't do nothing. They will just monitor what goes in and what comes out. They monitor the kind of conversation. They monitor this, the pattern. Each person, each mail you receive, how they converse with you, the terminologies they use, the way they structure their sentences, and all the likes. They just monitor it for a very long time, so that the day they would send you an email, you can't even differentiate if that is the person. So one of those days, they find out that you're having that whole thing. What they do is that they can then take advantage of that scenario and then send a phishing email. They send a phishing mail, and you click on it, or your boss or whoever is at the other end clicks on it, and it damages the system. It becomes a very big issue. It's no longer the little docile situation anymore. So those are some of the challenges that this creates, especially for the tech industry, especially for fintechs. There's a whole lot of money passing through. There's a whole lot of money, people's money, not even your own money, people's money going through. But then we have to understand that there are challenges right now. The reality on ground is that there are very big challenges, and we cannot run away from those challenges. We have to just be real to ourselves. This is Yinka Johnson from Lagos, and he's saying, greetings, Emmanuel and your guests. Another advantage of working at hubs for tech practitioners especially is getting support from others in areas that one isn't strong or have expertise in. And I think that's very great. Thank you so much, Yinka Johnson, for that comment. I think that's very great as well. It's true. Technical support, there are people there at the tech hubs that can give you technical support. So something is not happening, you're trying to send a mail, you're trying to communicate with somebody else, and it's not working. You can there's easily available help around you. And I think it's time for tech hubs to actually rise to the occasion and start promoting themselves, because we don't see a lot of them promoting their services online. On traditional media, signage posts and all the rest. I think it's actually time that they start putting themselves out there so that people are aware, and they start sharing messages of having alternatives, and approaching companies, if the case may be, on how they can get subscription for their for some of their employees as well. If that is, possibly companies around that have what's it called now? That have employees around their areas. Let's say there are some companies that provide buses, and the buses drop off a lot of people around, let's say, Ojota area, and you are a tech hub, you have a tech hub around Ojota. Is an avenue for you to find out that company, approach the management of that company, and provide the alternative, telling them that, I can take care of these employees. You don't have to spend so much on petrol anymore. I can take care of these employees, and they can, for a fee, they can work at my tech hub, and relate back. I can provide them with support, technical support, and all the likes. I'm sure if you give like this kind of alternatives to some of these companies, some of them might actually jump on it, and that's what I believe. But Lagos, thank you so much. Thank you, Alice. Thank you so much, Chisco. Thank you, Yinka Johnson, for your comments. This has been a very enlightening conversation. I think I have takeaways from it, and I believe that you too have takeaways from it. I would promise you one thing: we're going to be doing more on digital life. There are going to be some changes here and there, but trust me, it's it's something that we can do. It's something that we can surmount. I love that we still have this flow, and I promise you next week I'll be back here again for a greater conversation, because there's a reality on ground, and together we can surmount it. My name is Emmanuel Onwuka. Thank you, Lagos, for listening.
Day.
Can the woman make you steal?
Oh yes, the woman can make you do a lot of things, as you know.
The judge cannot find you culpable for a crime when there are no rules for even the extent of the punishment.
Those women who are leaders.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info.